Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and, honestly, sometimes deeply paradoxical shift that's happening in higher education. We're talking about restorative justice. We're going to unpack a massive research project that asks three absolutely crucial questions. What is the true impact of restorative justice? How is it actually being delivered on the ground? And ultimately, can it truly be institutionalized? It sounds like a noble pursuit, right? But as you'll see, treating justice as a healing process within a massive bureaucratic university system is far from simple. So here is the massive question we have to grapple with. Can universities actually replace traditional punishment with healing? Because for decades, campus discipline has basically mirrored the criminal justice system, highly adversarial and strictly punitive. But what if, instead of just slapping a student with a huge fine over a minor noise complaint or immediately moving to expel them, the institution focused on repairing the harm and actually reintegrating them? It's a provocative idea for sure, and to understand if it actually works in the real world, we need to look at the hard data. All right, here's our cognitive roadmap for today. First, the restorative university. Second, a global institutional survey. Third, achievements in campus culture. Fourth, the implementation paradox. Fifth, strategies for success. And finally, reimagining academic justice. Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the restorative university, moving beyond punitive discipline. Moving straight into Section 2, a global institutional survey, the reality on the ground. To separate the theoretical buzzwords from what's actually happening, we're drawing on a really comprehensive mixed method study by researchers Bussu and David Karp. They analyzed qualitative data from 68 diverse international higher education institutions that have made a visible, sustained commitment to restorative justice. Now, while the majority of these are in the United States, the data also spans across Canada, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. So this isn't just one isolated little pilot program we're talking about. It's a comprehensive look at systemic implementation across a huge variety of academic environments. Take a look at this breakdown. It shows exactly how these 68 institutions are actively moving beyond punitive discipline and applying relational accountability across three distinct campus domains. In student conduct, it acts as a disciplinary alternative that focuses on genuine learning rather than just individualizing blame. In campus climate, think residential life or bias incidents, the focus shifts to fostering true belonging and open dialogue. And right inside the classrooms, it functions as an academic pedagogy for participatory learning. It's actually a highly versatile framework when you break it down like this. Which brings us to Section 3, Achievements in Campus Culture, Building Relational Communities. Now, what's really interesting here is that when institutions actually invest in this multi-layered approach, the tangible achievements are incredibly significant. You can visually see how interconnected success really is. The presence of dedicated staff in formal RJ offices directly links to improved student conduct. And, that improved conduct doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It actively generates a broader sense of optimism and empathy across the entire campus. By investing in the infrastructure, these universities are quite literally building a more positive learning environment from the ground up. Just listen to this actual feedback from a campus practitioner. We have found that students experiencing circles often lead them to want more circles. Having them attached to an educational program was very helpful. I love this because it completely grounds these lofty academic concepts in concrete reality. It proves that when students are treated with respect, rather than just blindly punished, they actually want to engage. They want to reflect and learn. That is a massive win for student engagement. All right, shifting gears to Section 4. The implementation paradox, the tension between promise and peril. Here's where we kind of have to pull the rug out a bit, because the study reveals a stark implementation paradox. On one side, you have the idealistic achievements we just talked about, true culture change, meaningful dialogue, and genuine student empowerment. But pulling in the absolute opposite direction is a really messy reality. Severe resource scarcity, program discontinuity, and highly fragmented implementation. So the potential for healing is definitely there, but the institutional structure itself often works actively against it. This complex web of implementation challenges, it basically forms a map of institutional anxiety. Issues like a lack of top-down support intersect directly with inadequate training, which then paralyzes complex case management. When RJ gets marginalized or when the university's PR narrative doesn't match its actual funding, the whole ecosystem just freezes. It's a systemic failure we're looking at, not just an isolated operational hiccup. To give you a really clear picture of the peril here, practitioners are facing 5 specific daily hurdles. Number 1, overworked, single-person staff coordinators who are just drowning in cases. Number 2, when that one person leaves, the program completely collapses due to lost institutional memory. Number 3, massive risk aversion in high-stakes cases like Title IX. Number 4, faculty resistance and cultural misalignment. And number 5, totally inadequate facilitator training. That is a staggering amount of systemic weight bearing down on these university administrators. So let's pivot to the solutions in Section 5, Strategies for Success, a roadmap for institutionalization. So if it's this difficult, how do successful programs actually survive all that? Well, the research lays out an explicit 3-step roadmap. Step 1, institutions absolutely must center student voices and foster peer leadership so the community actually owns the process. Step 2, they have to secure dedicated staffing and structural resources. RJ simply cannot just be an add-on to someone's already busy day. And step 3, RJ must be aligned directly with the overarching institutional mission if it's going to survive inevitable administrative turnover. But, securing resources is literally only half the battle. Sustained success requires high practitioner competency and continuous restorative embodiment, meaning training cannot be a one-time tick-box exercise. Facilitators need continuous experiential learning to safely navigate these highly complex campus conflicts. You have to truly embody the practice, not just read a manual, or else the pedagogical legitimacy completely falls apart. And finally, Section 6, Reimagining Academic Justice, moving from intervention to ethos. So the crucial point is this. The ultimate goal isn't just to have a neat little conflict resolution tool tucked away in a basement office somewhere, especially for universities that are teaching future criminal justice professionals. The campus is actively modeling what justice looks like. This means developing a true restorative ethos, living restorative justice as an embedded culture and a continuous way of being. It requires a complete shift in institutional values, treating dialogue as a form of inquiry, where the university itself becomes a living, breathing laboratory for relational care. Which leaves us with this final, pretty provocative question to ponder. Is your institution treating justice as a punishment or as a process? Are we simply managing risk and expelling problems, or are we actively teaching accountability, building empathy, and fostering true belonging? The data shows that the restorative path is incredibly challenging, for sure. But for those willing to do the systemic work, the cultural rewards are absolutely transformative. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really encourage you to look closely at the culture of justice in your own communities.